Right, let's stay with power issues now. City Power says its Houtkoppen substation in the north of Joburg is on fire. For an update on this, utilities spokesperson Isaac Mangena joins us now online. Isaac, good to have you, and thank you very much for your time tonight. We're seeing pictures of a substation on fire doing the rounds on social media. What happened?
Good evening, and good evening to the viewers at home, and thanks for having us. Yes, we do have a substation that is on fire, Houtkoppen substation, which is in the northern parts of Johannesburg. It started fire around just after 8, and we believe that it was at the time when we were switching on. The customers from that substation, they were being load shed from 6 o'clock to 8:30. And that's when the fire started. We've sent the team to site. Emergency services were there. They managed to, at this point, put the fire out. But obviously, the infrastructure is still very hot for the teams to basically move in to do further investigations as to the cause, the extent of the fire, and what needs to happen before people can get electricity. So the team basically preliminarily, what we have picked is that the fire started on Eskom site. So what happens at the Houtkoppen substation and some of our substations around Randburg, we share them with Eskom. So they are the ones who are switching on and off our infrastructure during load shedding. So it seems like the fire sparked from the jumpers on their side, and that is basically what we know currently. And the team is on site basically with Eskom teams so that we can be able to get to the bottom of this and ensure power is restored to the residents.
Yeah, we speak about this all the time. The last time we were speaking to you was that situation in Ivory Park. Same thing had happened. Then you said to us, the explanation was, it's the switching on and off. The infrastructure is not built for that. The switching on and off eventually leads to these kind of explosions and eruptions at substations. Is there a link and a relationship? Because every time there's an exacerbated, a higher level of load shedding, for example, when we hit stages 6 and so, we seem to be seeing more and more of these events. Is there a link?
Yes, indeed, there is a link. I think you've noticed in the past few months we did not have these fires, even during the peak of winter, when we actually expected some of this to basically happen. It was because of the load shedding the stages of load shedding were a little bit lower, so the switching on and off were not as intense and frequent as they are with stage 6. So with stage 6, it means that we basically will be switching people on and off for sometimes 4 hours and maybe about 8 hours in a day. And that means that the wear and tear of the infrastructure is also increasing. And as such, these kind of breakdowns do happen during that time. And yes, there is a correlation between that. The infrastructure was never meant to be switched on and off at such regular short intervals as it's happening. But obviously with this one, we just want to check and investigate further as to there was any linkage. But from where we are sitting, it seems like that could be the reason, because of the time when this fire started. That was during the time when we were about to close the breakers to switch on the customers who have been off since 6 o'clock, and that is when the fire started. But there is that relationship between these two.
Yeah. So one of the community WhatsApp groups that is doing the rounds and sharing some of these videos saying this looks like a major power outage. How many areas are going to be affected by this? And is it as major as, for example, something that we saw recently that would have taken more than a week? In fact, it took a couple of weeks to rectify.
So basically from the visuals that were shared initially after 8:30 and towards 9 o'clock, it looked like the fire was huge. But from closer look and with the emergency services on site, like I say, there was a breaker that basically sparked, and that is when that fire started. From the teams that are already on site, it doesn't seem like it's a major fire. The transformers at least are not affected. As you know, in the example that you gave of El Park, where transformer was basically raised to the ground, it meant that we had to wait for about 5 to 8 days of the investigations of the repairs and so forth. But with this incident, it doesn't seem like the critical infrastructure, like the feeder boards and the transformers, are affected. But the team will basically move closer and just make sure that indeed not much of that has been affected. But in terms of the residents that are affected, it's mostly the residents who are within Block 10. Block 10 includes Houtkoppen, North Riding, Kaya Sands, Bromhof, and those areas around that, Sonnetland and parts of Bryanston. And then you've got another part of Bryanston that is basically load shed at 8. So those customers should not panic and think that they are affected by the fire. They were going through load shedding from 8 to which should end at 10 o'clock or just after 10. And so those customers are not affected by this fire, but obviously when we restore them, we'll get to understand the extent of who else is affected by this and how can we basically ensure that there is an alternative to restore electricity, which may include backfeeding some of them, because we've got about 3 substations in that area that we can always swing the load to some of those infrastructure.
That was my next question. So is there a possibility of being able to divert the connection in the meantime while you are sorting out whatever challenges is happening at that substation?
Yeah, look, the problem in this instance is that the fire started at Eskom site, so we don't know if that is the main connection that is bringing electricity to the rest of the 3. We will basically have to find out exactly that. But if it was within City Power, we've got a triangle, if I may put it that way, where the 3 substations are basically interconnected. North Riding substation, Rembek, Houtkoppen as well. And we can be able to swing the load among the 3 of those. So we'll have to check with Eskom as to how, the extent of this, whether it has affected all the 3 substations or it's only one. But currently, as we know it, it is Houtkoppen substation that is off. And after then, we'll be able to assess as to whether we've got any options on the table that will ensure that electricity is restored at least later this evening or early in the morning tomorrow.
Okay, so those are the estimates that you're working with. You're saying until, of course, everything has cooled down and it's a little bit clearer, but it's something that you will be able to work through throughout the night, or at least by early morning, seeing some kind of restoration.
Yes, indeed. We just need to basically make sure that we are able to get closer to the damaged infrastructure. We're able to touch some of it. You can imagine currently it's still hot. And then we can be able to determine what needs to be done, how long it will take before electricity is restored. And of course, we are also looking at those options of us backfeeding some of these customers if it's possible.
Spokesperson for the Johannesburg City Power there, Isaac Mangena. Appreciate your time. Thank you very much for that update.